Welcome to the first session of today's events, and today we are here for the workshop conducted by our lovely Aruna Gopkumar from Navgati. So she is the founder of Navgati, which is a provider of innovative solutions. I'll just give you a little bit of introduction and background to Aruna, who will be taking us through this session for the next couple of hours. So she is an engineer from Anna University, and she has a management graduation degree and accredited coach certification. And she's been in this field for the last 22 years. And before Navgati, she was heading the HR at Sasken Communication. And now, as of today, she has conducted over 3,000 workshops and done 1,500 hours of coaching with the organizational leaders. She is also a psychotherapist, and she uses transactional analysis and a practitioner of applied theater. So she will take us into her world for the next couple of hours, and we will see, what kind of games people play. Thank you, and over to Aruna.
Thank you so much. So, good morning, everyone. And I'm delighted, absolutely delighted to spend 2 hours with ambitious women talking about games people play. Yeah. So I heard some eavesdropped at this table where you were asking each other, why are you here? So I heard some answers. I'm going to throw the question open to the larger group. What attracted you to this session? What questions do you have?
Yeah, the title itself is attracting.
How to solve the games people play? So you're familiar?
Understand first.
Firstly, identify the games. What are games? Yeah. And how do I recognize them? How do I not get hooked? Yeah, that's what. I don't want to get pulled into games. Do you get the feeling that you're pulled into games? So what is a game? We'll talk about that.
And also the games are not just at the workplace, but it also applies wherever we are.
Yeah. So we are talking about psychological games here, not political games. Yeah. So we'll talk about what psychological games really mean. So I'm going to ask you, all of you work to realize your potential, isn't it? Yeah. Do you feel that you act in self-defeating ways sometimes? Yeah. So that is what we call a psychological game. Yeah. So you heard in my introduction that I'm a psychotherapist, and I have been trained in the use of transactional analysis in helping people. So games people play is a concept that was introduced by Dr. Eric Berne, who was a psychiatrist, a brilliant psychiatrist, and he introduced this idea in the 60s. And when he first published this book 40 years ago, it became an instant bestseller. And it has been in the bestseller list for the last so many years. The book is called Games People Play. The session that I'm doing is drawn from transactional analysis. And he introduced this idea that sometimes we are very puzzled by our own behavior. Sometimes you don't want to get angry, but you find that you can't stop being angry. You don't want to get attracted to some kind of people, but you seem to be constantly getting attracted to them and setting yourself up for pain in the process. So what is happening? What are our motivations? What drives our behavior? And he provided some models or ideas that kind of took the world by storm. It's as relevant today, and it will continue to be relevant. Yeah, it's one of those unchanging things. Yeah, so we're going to talk about what games are, as Eric Berne described them. So before we get into games, we'll understand how we learn to play games. For that, some concepts from TA I'll introduce you to: strokes, rackets, life script, written for researchers. But the way his vision was to make these ideas not just available to psychiatrists and psychotherapists, but all of us. Yeah. So he gave the games really interesting names, like "Why Don't You Yes But," "If It Weren't For You," "Kick Me." So these are all names of games. Yeah. And so that the moment you hear the name, you immediately have a sense of what the game is. You don't need to know too much about it. And he also said that the games that he listed in the book, there are about 40 games. Those are not the only games that exist in the world. And as I describe the dynamics of a game, you will begin to recognize the games in your life, and you can yourself classify names. And if you wish, we can put a compilation and publish a second book. Yeah, so that's the idea of games. And we can, any questions before we get started? Otherwise, I'll plunge right into, yes. Transactional analysis is a school of psychotherapy, is a model of understanding personality. Yeah, so it is, yeah, so that's what it is. It's a way, it's a model that describes how we become the way we are today and how we can understand what's happening within, inside us by understanding transactions. Yeah, so it has books like Games People Play, I'm Okay, You're Okay, Born to Win, are all based on the model of transactional analysis. Yeah? So feel free to stop me for questions. Are you all able to hear me, see me? Yeah, all right. Okay, so I'm going to ask all of you to stand up. Stand up and stand back to back with any one person in the room. So if you are an odd number, 3 people can stand back to back. Stand back to back. And yeah. So when I say turn, are you all standing back to back? When I say turn, you turn and greet your partner. Yeah? The first time you greet your partner without any energy at all. Yeah, you're possibly distracted and you're very mechanically greeting the partner. There's no change in expression. You may not smile. Just one limp greeting. Is that okay? All right, turn. Okay, well done. Turn back. All right. Now this time when you turn, the second time, greet the person very cordially, formally. Yeah, how you would greet a stranger in a business meeting. A polite smile. All right, turn around. All right, turn back. Now the third time, I'm going to ask you to greet the person as if you were curious and interested in finding out more about that person. Yeah? You want that person to know you, and you want to know that person. All right, turn around. Exchanged, yeah? All right, turn around again. All right, yeah. We turn around again. This time when you greet the person as though he or she, I see some he's in the room also, he or she was a long lost childhood friend. Yeah? Turn around. Super. Okay, we have two more turns, yeah? All right, turn around, yeah. This time when you turn around, the person is a work colleague of yours, and that person has taken credit for your work. Yeah? Turn around and greet the person like that. All right, turn back. Yeah. And the last one, turn around and greet the person as though he or she had bad breath. All right, thank you. Thank you for being such a sport and trying all this out. Are there some people without seats? How do we... What do you want to do? Do you want to just come and sit here? I'm happy to have a sitting audience. Yeah, you can take these chairs. So I'm going to ask you, did the different greetings have different energies? Yeah. In which greeting was your energy the highest? Long lost friend. The energy of the room went up. If some of you were feeling sleepy because you didn't have a good night's sleep, you would have found your energy going up. Physically, your energy is changing. Which had the lowest energy? Bad breath. Bad breath. Credit for work. Someone who took credit for work. Both of those had energy too. They were negative energies. The lowest energy was the first one. I have no interest even in meeting you. Oh God, this is such a ritual. Yeah, so we begin to find that how people acknowledge us can change our energy. Yeah, and we also get a sense of who we are, how much we are wanted, how much we are valued by how people acknowledge us. Yeah, so the person who had the bad breath would know that there's something happening to the other person. The person's stiffening, the person's contracting, moving back. I saw that happening. How did you greet the person who cheated you? Who took credit? With disdain? Did some of you have that thought, I don't even want to greet that person? Yeah. So we avoid people whom we dislike. So we also get a sense that someone does not want to interact with me. So we are picking up clues about how we are valued from the interactions. So if this was the way a group looked at you, how would you feel? Yeah, it's a it's a memory that we'll carry for life. So I'm going to introduce you to the idea of strokes, the simplest and the most powerful concept in transactional analysis. Yeah? So what's a stroke? A stroke is a unit of recognition. Hi, Priya. So we exchanged strokes. Yeah, I acknowledged her and she acknowledged me. Yeah, it's a simple exchange of strokes. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So all these ideas that I'm presenting are from a school of human behavior called transactional analysis. Yeah. So strokes is a concept from that. So a stroke is a unit of recognition. I extended a transaction. There was a stimulus and there was a response. So we exchanged transactions. Yeah. So strokes are, so we all experience different intensities of strokes in the morning. Yeah, the different energies with which we were greeted. So strokes can be verbal or non-verbal, positive or negative, conditional or unconditional. Yeah. So verbal strokes are things that people say. Yeah. So you're looking nice today is a verbal stroke. Yeah. What could be a non-verbal stroke? Yeah, a gesture. It's an action. It's not just body language. It's an action that people take to show someone that they are acknowledged. So, for instance, if I say, there's an empty chair here, come and sit. So, what am I doing? So, I'm showing through my action that I'm concerned about the people standing, and I'm taking action to show that I care. How else do you show people through action that they are valued? You would nod when they are talking. How do you show your child that you value your child? You hug people, you hug the child. How else? Through actions. You kiss the child. Pat on the back. Okay, how would you show them that? Smile at them, change the tone. You would also take time off to attend their PTAs. Yeah, you would sit and do homework with them. When they are upset, you would listen to their grievances. Those are action strokes. You're not saying I love you and I care for you, which are verbal strokes, but you're showing the love and care through actions. So if you tell your manager, I need time with you, I want to discuss something really important, and your manager says, if it's important to you, it's important to me, come right now. Yeah, and he folds up his laptop and spends time with you, he very curious, that's an action stroke. But if your mail doesn't get responded to and it keeps getting postponed, the meeting, then that's a negative action stroke. So through that action, the manager has communicated that you're not important. My other work is so much more important. Yeah. Similarly, there are positive strokes and negative strokes. So a stroke can be, a stroke that makes us feel good is positive. A stroke that creates pain is negative. Yeah. So being invited to a party that my friends have organized is a positive stroke. Being involved in the decision making is a positive stroke. If someone expresses liking, that's a positive stroke. If someone expresses dislike, why are you so horrible? Why can't you do anything right? That's a negative stroke. Or not being invited to a party is a negative stroke. Yeah. Then there are conditional strokes and unconditional strokes. I'm going to give you, these are all Burns words. These are the words from the TA theory. So go with that definition, because sometimes our English definitions of conditional and unconditional can be a little different. A conditional stroke is a stroke for what you do. An unconditional stroke is a stroke for who you are. Yeah? So I'm going to give Archana a stroke. Yeah? So Archana, I think you're really looking nice in that very unusual color combination. I really like the short kurta with that salwar. You're looking very nice today. So that's one kind of stroke. So second stroke to Archana. Archana, I think there's a certain energy about you that makes you really attractive. Which stroke felt better, Archana? Yeah. Why the second stroke? It's about you. Yeah, it's not. Tomorrow if she wears a different dress, today's stroke may not be valid, but it's about you. So between you did an excellent presentation versus you always do such a brilliant job. I can trust you. I can trust you to do a brilliant job. The second stroke, so unconditional stroke is for you. A conditional stroke is for what you do. Are you getting the difference? Okay, so I'm going to give each table a challenge, yeah? So this table's challenge is, give me an example of a verbal positive conditional stroke. Yeah? You have to give me an example of verbal positive unconditional stroke. Yeah? So yours is verbal negative conditional. Verbal negative unconditional, that table. This table is, have we finished all the combinations? Non-verbal positive conditional, non-verbal positive unconditional, non-verbal negative conditional, non-verbal negative unconditional. Yeah, the rest of you are free. Think of any examples. Okay, what was yours? Verbal positive conditional stroke. Can I have an example? Yeah, are you with me? Today. Yeah, let's hear. What's yours? And that's what kind of stroke? Positive, verbal, unconditional. There's a sparkle in your eyes today. There's a sparkle in your eyes that I like. Yeah, of course. That's an unconditional stroke. Yes, if you disagree whether it's conditional or unconditional, raise a question. Yeah, what's yours? There was no today. Today was a mistake that I made. Yeah.
No, not just today. It's very specific to the eyes. It's not about
So, which is why I said go with the Burns definition. So even saying I love you is a conditional stroke. I'm saying it because I love you. I wouldn't say it without a condition. So a stroke for a person versus a stroke for an action. That's conditional versus unconditional. So sparkle in your eyes, I like you. Or I like that sparkle in your eyes is a stroke for me, not for something I did. So that becomes unconditional. It has more value than you're looking nice today. Yeah, it is more powerful. Similarly, we'll hear the unconditional negative. We'll see how powerfully damaging it is. Yeah? Verbal negative conditional. The presentation that you delivered today wasn't up to the mark or had these many errors, or you weren't ready to answer questions. All of these are specific negative strokes. So these are conditional negative verbal strokes. What's yours? Yes.
You can never do anything right.
Yeah. Yeah, can you ever do anything right? Can you be practical? Such an idiot you are. Yeah? Or so many labels, yeah, we use on an everyday basis, which is a rejection of the person. Those are unconditional negative stroke. You are the problem, not what you do. Yeah? So yeah. Yes.
For the table that you say an unconditional negative,
Yeah.
you told the presentation you made is not
Not up to the mark.
conditional, correct?
That's conditional.
So if I put an opposite of it, positive will be, conditional positive will be your presentation was good.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
presentation
so, but
was
ultimately the presentation is also about you, correct? Is your way of presenting, your body language and everything.
It is, but it's an action that you take. So we are able to handle feedback about our actions much more openly. We'll talk about the connection to games, but when we internalize some labels for ourselves, it changes our personality. So who we are is different from what we do. So I didn't do a presentation well today, but if I'm a fool who keeps messing up, it's very different. Yeah? Are you able to see the difference in the intensity? Yeah. All right. This table, what do you have? Non-verbal, positive, conditional. Unconditional. Hello? Yeah. 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 That's non-verbal, positive, unconditional. What? Conditional. Okay.
For the presentation.
Yeah, thumbs up for a presentation. So look at actions, don't just look at body language. So if my friend is sick, that becomes unconditional. Yeah, applauding for a presentation would be, yeah. All right, that table which is very busy working on. What's your task? Non-verbal, unconditional, negative. Negative. Non-verbal, conditional, negative.
Yes.
Give us the example.
After a bad day, throwing a glass of water on your date's face.
After a bad day, throwing a glass of water.
On your date's face. Or something.
Oh. It's unconditional. It's unconditional. It's a rejection of the date.
It's conditional, right? It's once. That date.
But you're not doing it for the date's action. You are saying you are a problem. I don't want to see you. I want to reject
But no,
you.
but that
So
bad
that becomes,
date.
huh? No, it's unconditional. Sorry. It will destroy your date. Yeah. Hitting your child for breaking a glass. Yeah. So that is action, negative, and unconditional. Conditional. Yeah. Okay. Anyone? One more example left. Yeah, do that. So that we already have an example of that. Throwing
Annoying
water.
gestures.
Huh?
Annoying gestures.
Just
Give me an ex-
for, you know,
Yeah.
again the same.
So
Say
somebody
no.
gives an idea and you say, yeah, always gives stupid ideas. So through our body language, we communicate that we are absolutely frustrated or disgusted with the other person. But the body language is communicating, I am frustrated with you. It's not I'm frustrated with the idea. The energy would be very different. Yeah, a textbook wise it will be very difficult to distinguish, but you as a person receiving it will know. Yeah? So trust your wisdom there. Yeah? Is it for the things I did, or is it me who's being perceived like that by the other person? Okay, now I'm going to give you another task. Because we are many people, we may not have time for it. I'm going to skip this, I think, because if we had a smaller group, I would have done this. So when we receive strokes, we all have been conditioned to strokes, right? what happens is, as children, what's our primary need? And a need is to get strong. Apart from the safety and security and food and nourishing and all of that, we need to feel loved. It's a very primal need of a child. And in fact, Eric Burns, for humans, yes. Yeah. Animals also respond to strokes, plants also respond to strokes. So Eric Berne, his idea of strokes originated by watching children who are brought up by parents and comparing them with children who were brought up in homes. And he was really looking at children who were very young, 0 to 6 months. And he found that in homes, in Western world, they are kept clean and they are fed. But they lie in, their rooms are white and they lie in cradles, and the nurse would come and attend to them only when they need to be changed or they need to be fed. And he found that these children deteriorated in health very rapidly. And those who survived had shorter lifespans and got into very severe emotional difficulties. Yeah, they fell ill much more often. And one of the famous psychological experiments is about a baby, Hannah or Sarah, I don't remember the baby, who was in a crib and was not touched, and the experiment was they put the cradle of the baby in the foyer of the hospital, and they instructed the staff, whenever you cross the baby, pick her up, speak to her, and put her back in the cradle. And the baby healed miraculously. So there was something powerfully healing about attention. And that's what that led to the research on strokes and the powerful impact of strokes on emotional health. Yeah. So what kind of strokes do you really want? Positive strokes or negative strokes? Positive strokes. All of you want positive strokes? Okay. So I'm going to introduce you to the way we behave. A little child wants attention from the mother. Mother is very busy. What does the child do? Cry. We're talking about an infant. If the child becomes a little older, a 2-year or 3-year-old child, do something messy or do something naughty. So what does the mother do? Comes and shouts at the child, yeah, and then goes back to her busy life. What happens to the child? The child gets naughtier. The child gets naughtier. Why is the child getting naughtier? Because that's the behavior that's getting the attention. Being good means mommy will ignore me. Yeah? So if I want my mommy's attention, it doesn't matter whether it's negative attention. Negative attention is as powerful for my health as positive attention. Without it, I will shrivel up and die. These are all biological things we don't realize. That I would rather in the absence of strokes, we all want positive strokes. But when positive strokes don't come, I do a diet of negative strokes. And that keeps me going, that keeps me alive. It's less painful than being ignored. Are you getting a beginning of why some people are continuously negative? Yeah, it's a pattern that we have learnt in our childhood. Stroke-starved people usually are more difficult. Resistance is often a manifestation of not getting enough acknowledgement. Yeah? Negative strokes are? Oh yes, it becomes a painful cycle, right? The child gets naughtier, the mother gets more frustrated, the relationship may get strained because of the constant fights. So the way to break the cycle would be to really talk about needs and pay attention. So the responsibility is more on the parent. The child is not aware. Yeah, so the parent needs to really say what's the need behind the difficult behavior. So often when you see a difficult person in your life, see a struggling child having a need and doesn't know how to get the needs met in a direct way, or has learned to get needs met in dysfunctional ways. Yeah. So, but if we pay attention to the need, a lot of that resistance will come down. So what happens? What happens in parenting? Yeah, parenting is the most vital skill in the world, which often nobody gets trained on. A child has a mind of its own, yeah, and parents are the most helpless people in the world, yeah. How do I get my child to eat? How do I get my child to sleep? Be clean. So what is their weapon? Strokes, yeah. Strokes, there are plentiful strokes available in the world, but the parent will behave as though strokes are in short supply, yeah. They are very precious. You will get it if you listen to me, yeah. If you eat your food on your own, good girl, such a sweet child, yeah. If you don't eat your food, stupid girl, I'm going to call the cop now. He's going to come and catch you and put you in jail, yeah. So there's a fright, I'm not good enough, yeah. So some of these can become life patterns based on the intensity with which they come. And we all learn rules about strokes in our childhood. So how many of you take compliments well? Okay, so it took some. Many people struggle with taking compliments. When we hear a compliment, if we haven't had a environment where compliments were given generously, where if a child hasn't had an environment where it was safe to be intimate, yeah, a child will learn to distrust anything that is positive. And I experience in my work a lot of distrust with anyone being positive or nice. Yeah. So we have rules about strokes.
Right? Sometimes in the sense that if you agree for that, you feel it's genuine. But if you think no, that was not, it was just at the surface level.
So see, if it's for a specific person, that person gives insincere compliments and you reject that. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a general being on guard all the time and treating anything that is done with suspicion. So there are rules of strokes that we have learnt as children, yeah. The first rule is don't give strokes freely, even if you have them, yeah. So parents don't give strokes freely to their children. Why do they do that? It will go to his head, yeah. It will go to his head. So let him stay grounded. So even if he deserves it, so there's this big cultural myth that children shouldn't be, but they are scolded well and loudly and clearly and repeatedly. Yeah, it's a pattern that we carry into adulthood. If I ask all of you, the most important people in your life, do they know how much they matter to you? So think of the answer to that. And do they also know how unhappy you are with them for the many wrong things that they do? Quite likely the second list will be longer and more specific and more often talked about than the first list, yeah. So that's a pattern that we are repeating, a pattern that we are used to, where positives are talked about less and negatives are talked about more. Don't ask for strokes when you need them. So this is again a learnt behavior. It can all ask for a stroke is to tell me. They have to tell me on their own. Only then it is valuable. So these are all ways we learn to make ourselves miserable. So if we look at a little child who wants a hug, what will the child do? Come and hug. If the child wants to sit on your lap, come and sit on your lap. There's no compulsion. The person has to recognize that I want to sit on that person's lap and the person has to invite me. Yeah? These are the complications we introduce in our life as adults, that people should be mind readers. So it's okay to ask. Yeah, it's really okay to ask. Don't accept strokes. So this is, strokes make people, it goes into people's head, or you're not being modest. Yeah. So if I tell Padmini, I really like your sari. Yeah. If Padmini were to reject my stroke, what would she say? This is not the nicest sari I have. I have much nicer ones. Yeah. So I say, oh, it's very old. Yeah. Something like that to diminish the value of the stroke. She can even turn around and get angry with me. Why are you telling me only today? You didn't, I was wearing this last week. You didn't think of telling me at that time. So what could have been a positive exchange becomes a angry exchange. Yeah? So I've rejected the stroke. Many of us have many good things going for us, but somehow we don't register them or pay importance to them or make something which is small and insignificant much larger than it needs to be.
We put this
Yeah. So all these are ways of making self smaller. So,
What I didn't understand is these are what are there as restrictions. They need not be. Right?
yeah, these are rules for becoming miserable. These are how we sabotage.
It's okay to say a child good, and
Oh yes, it is important.
there's a difference of opinion at home that I overdo that. My husband thinks
Yeah. With little children, and I'll tell you how significant that is. Yeah, so there are, it's life changing to give a child a healthy sense of self. Yeah,
saying after some time it should.
it's okay to start introducing conditional negative strokes. Yeah, but no unconditional negative strokes. Yeah, so physical abuse is unconditional negative stroke, or even. You'll never understand, you'll never amount to anything. These are parents in their tiredness, in their frustration, and in their inability to manage their emotions, give unconditional negative strokes to the most vulnerable, which is children. And we'll see the significant impact on personality and how it alters how we are as adults, the games we'll come to. Don't reject strokes if you don't want them. So sometimes it is so if mummy is shouting at me, actually mummy is tired. And she's had a fight with her boss, there's no problem with me. But a child can't distinguish that. So I must be a problem. That's why mummy is shouting at me. So we don't learn to reject strokes that actually are not for us at all. It's for somebody else. We learn to take everything that people throw at us. Yeah. Adults.
Industries, the corporates, women tend to actually, have problems in this with their managers.
Yes.
Can relate some examples.
Yeah, so I'm talking about the origin of this, and we look at manifestations of it in adulthood. Yeah, so it's not a parenting workshop for sure, but it is important to understand the origin of some of our life patterns, and therefore there's a way to give it up. Yeah, so that's where we are getting at. Yeah, because outside the awareness, we don't know how to deal with this. And finally, don't give yourself strokes. That strokes must always come from others. It's not okay for me to acknowledge or validate myself. So what would... Yes. Who's...
So is it wrong to, the last point,
Yeah.
is it not good to acknowledge your effort? I mean, I feel good about what I have done.
So these are all rules for being miserable. So don't mistake them. The rules for being happy are: give strokes freely, ask for strokes, accept strokes if they are good for you. Yeah, look at what's going right in your life. Reject strokes that you don't need and acknowledge yourself. Yeah, give yourself strokes. Is that, yeah? So these are the rules that we need to walk away with.
Any differences in which men and women, see this one? Because I see that women are naturally capable to give and accept and, ask, but whereas the men, sometimes you see them dumb, not responding.
Yeah. So I'll come to there are gender patterns, but men struggle with the same challenges that women struggle with. But there are some permissions that women have that men don't have. For instance, women are allowed to be weak culturally. So it is okay for them to be vulnerable. So asking is somewhat easier for women than it is for men. Yeah, giving may also be easier for women than for men. But men also struggle with... so I remember working with a leader, spent 19 years in the organization, completely miserable with his role, has been carrying that weight for almost 1.5 years. He has not even raised it in the organization. It's not okay for him to have an issue. It's not okay for him to believe that I have 19 years of credibility in the organization and the organization can carve out something. I can ask for something to be carved out for me because I have been so loyal to the organization. I can't be. I can't ask. Somebody should, huh? No, it didn't come from ego. It came from, I can't be needy. Asking for is being needy. That's the belief, yeah? As children we've got them, yeah? So,
That scenario, it is maybe not this thing, but I have seen many a times, for example, if you're going somewhere, you're finding your own place, ask someone
Even if I get lost, it's okay, but I won't ask. The core belief is it's not okay to be needy. Yeah. Yes.
Agree with the second point and the fourth point. Like, ask for strokes when you need them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you said that, you can't go ask somebody, how am I looking today? Or, did I do a good job? Because it has to come automatically. So I
No,
feel
that's
there's
the myth. That's the myth.
Okay.
That's the myth. The right thing is to ask. So what I see, what the traditional, maybe not all of you, but in olden days, if women wear a nice sari, if the husband doesn't say you're looking nice, they'll go and change. And they'll sulk the whole day. But that's not how to be. It's okay to say, how am I looking today? Am I looking nice? Or to ask the manager, you haven't appreciated this work. I only heard you say what wasn't right. What do you like about this work? So tough to ask. You
Yeah,
go to the
and-
manager and say, tell me how I can improve. That becomes easier.
Yeah, but then I think the world around us is, wouldn't have attended these classes. So, when you
Yeah, yeah. So the other principle is you change and you will see automatically so the belief in transaction analysis is I invite behavior in others, and the only person I can actually change is myself. I cannot change anyone else. Okay, I'm going to take one or two more questions. We have to get to games. Yes, two
Here?
questions. Yeah.
Ma'am?
That we have the expectation that the other person, I mean, if it is a boss and subordinate or a parent and child, we have that expectation that they should know what we have done. And so that expectation will be there, and many a times it never.
Okay, so what's your question? That I have an expectation that my boss and people at home understand me, and often they don't. So what's the question? Is that right or wrong? What's the answer? It's okay to have that expectation. The question is, if it doesn't get met, do you sit and sulk? That becomes a limiting behavior. If you have lost the time, then I'd say the only person responsible for that is you. It's important to ask. We're saying don't hold on to the expectation because they may be operating with the first rule, right? Don't give strokes. Yeah, because we don't know what is their compulsion, what their struggle is. So another thing is we're behaving like this because we have needs. And often we don't recognize the need behind the action. We take responsibility of getting the need met. So if it means asking again and again and again, it's okay. It's better than not having the need met.
Ma'am, here?
Okay, I'm going to suggest, I want to go to games because it'll just introduce a whole new world. I said one more question, I'll answer that.
Ma'am,
Yes.
one last question, please.
Okay, are you willing to give up yours? No, okay, 1 and 2, that's it, no more. Huh.
It's about the ask for strokes when you need it. Like she was just saying, when you ask for it, sometimes it doesn't seem genuine, right? When we give you the stroke, you're forced to say, are you looking good or looking nice?
Possible, that's not in our control. That's not in our control. So if I tell my manager, I've put in a lot of effort, but somehow I didn't see you acknowledging that. Do you acknowledge it? What's in my control is asking. The manager may or may not give it. So asking has a risk involved, certainly. Yes, your question?
Ma'am, can you please give us an example of how to reject strokes that you don't want them
Great,
in an office
yeah.
environment, probably, in a team environment?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a negative stroke. I'd like you to reject it, yeah? That was a stupid question. How would you reject it? I don't think so. That's the simplest way of rejection. Yeah, what could the other ways of rejection be? To me, it's not stupid. Absolutely. You may think it's stupid, but there are others who may not think it's stupid. So why do you think it's stupid? Even if it is stupid, can you please answer it? Yeah? So rejecting a stroke it's that person's problem. It's not mine. So it's an internal process. I don't have to feel small and low. That's what we mean by rejecting a stroke. And I can be firm, I can counterattack, I can use humor. There are ways in which I manage the transaction. But internally, if I recognize that aggression is actually his or her struggle, and it's not a reflection of get our strokes. And we learn these often dysfunctional ways as little children. And so we are all grown up and we're chronologically adults, but we all have that little child in us that has needs and that's constantly struggling to get the needs met. The child is very much alive. Yeah, even when you're 95, the child will be very much alive in you. Yeah. So he'll come to the idea of life script. Yeah. No, 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 no. Yeah. Yeah. So transactional analysis is about this life, not about the past life. That was the question. Yeah. So there are many schools of why we behave the way we behave. Yeah. So, so we'll talk about the word life script. Yeah. So what does the word script bring to your mind? It's already written. Yeah, movies or plays, script is written before the movie is made. Yeah, so there is a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. There are heroes, there are heroines, there are villains in the process. So we're talking about life script. So we are talking about your life script. Who wrote that script? You wrote it? When did you write it? When you were born. Oh, we are very yeah. So I'm going to ask you some questions. You don't have to share it with anyone. Just think about the answers to these questions, yeah? If your life were a book, don't resist your first thoughts, huh? Those will reveal to you what your script beliefs could be. If your life were a book, what would the title of the book be? Huh? Okay, so don't share them, think about it, yeah? What kind of a book would it be? Would it be a thriller? Would it be a comedy? Would it be a tragedy? Would it be an emotional drama? Or would it be a kind of documentary, which kind of goes on? Yeah. So don't answer. Just think about it. Yeah. Who's the hero of this story? Good if you are, but some people may find themselves playing side roles. Yeah. Is there a villain in your? Don't answer. Don't answer. Is there a villain in your story? Who's the villain? And the last question, which is Burns' most surprising revelation in the book, how does the story end? He says we all already have a notion of how we are going to end our lives. And often our life is a big drama that we enact. We move towards that chosen alternative. Yeah, so don't worry too much about it right now. But that's the idea of life script. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When I say we listen to the first answer, we often project what is subconscious. Stay with the question. Yeah? Okay, life script is a life plan made in childhood. So we write our life script. So Burns says we start writing it when we are in the womb. Yeah? The plot gets laid out by the time we are 4, and by the time we are 12 or 13, it's almost completely formed up. Yeah, so it can be very shocking as a notion. The childhood, it hugely determines who you are going to be. Of course, it's formative. Yeah, it's reinforced by parents. Absolutely, absolutely. It's a well researched and well. It's a very sound theory. Yeah. It feels like that. Yeah. So it is quite dramatic to hear it. So it's reinforced by parents. So parents play a significant role. Justified by subsequent events. He actually puts justified in quotes. That we interpret reality, yeah, to suit our script. And we will only see it that way. So if you don't want to ask for strokes, you'll say, how can we ask? It's so wrong to ask for. We'll find every reason to not ask. Yeah? So it becomes justified and it culminates in a chosen alternative. So how do we form our scripts? So we copy our parents, yeah? So we are talking about broad life roles, yeah? So if I see my mom and dad fighting, and mom first fights, and then she starts crying, and then when she starts crying, dad gives in, yeah? So my rule for adulthood will be, if I need to get anything from men, I must first fight, and then I must start crying, yeah? So this is the decision of a little child. A little child is taking in these images of life, and these are becoming blueprints. These are not deliberate, aware decisions. And a child's decisions are often very dramatic. Children are the center of the universe, yeah? So they don't experience anger, fear, they experience rage, and they experience terror. So they experience things in extremes. So they make decisions also that are extreme. So often children have this notion, parents love this child more, so maybe if I die, they'll love me more. And they have notions, they have almost images of them dying and a parent saying, oh, we should have shown you our love. And so these are images that can keep them going, yeah? Very dramatic decisions. They often draw conclusions. In the womb, the mother is very happy, and the child feels that relaxed muscles of the mother. The conclusion is, I'm welcome, the world is a nice place. Mother's unhappy, carries tension in her body, the message is, I reject you, don't come close to me. So these are existential positions, yeah? So very, very core. So that's why, what do we do in our cultures? When women are expecting, what do we say? Keep them happy. Don't make them upset. Why do we have celebrations when the child is born? Everyone's picking up the child who can't even see properly, and they're talking to the child. It's all so important for the psychological well-being of the child, that it looks like my needs will be attended to. The world is trustworthy. The core beliefs of trust and okayness are laid in these years. Children also generalize. If mom is inconsistent, sometimes she comes, sometimes she doesn't come. So the world is a untrustworthy place. Physically, scripts can be written. I remember working with a leader who was a very young child, left with uncle and aunt, not a safe upbringing. If they expressed their needs, they were punished. So he learned to control his needs to an extent that his body became stiff. We carry scripts in our bodies. So some people will be no expression at all. However much you try to engage them in conversation, there's a certain stiffness. It's carried in the body as a child. It's not safe. If I express myself, I don't know what can happen. So I will always be on guard. Physically smaller people make themselves. You'll see those who are relaxed and easy, they'll be how easily they'll approach someone. So others would wait at the periphery, wait for something to happen. So these are all childhood patterns that we have brought into adulthood. Yes.
Because you brought the relevance of touch and all.
Yeah.
In the Western world, they often put in the baby this thing.
Yeah.
In the Indian world, as a child, you take
Yeah.
There are also researches about that.
Yeah, so touch, so the Western world is a little cold and clinical. The kind of security that children in this Asian cultures can experience, and the thing of community, belonging. Western children, yeah, it's higher, yeah. But there are some things that in the Western culture where thinking is encouraged. Independence and getting your needs met is encouraged. And here getting your needs met is sacrifice is encouraged. So there are good things in both cultures, yeah? Yes. So we are talking about our patterns that we bring into adulthood. So we are learning about belief. We are making beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world very early, when we were infants. When our option was, if I don't use this strategy, so the child's strategy is to withdraw and keep quiet. If I don't withdraw, I will be I have to face something that's going to be really unpleasant. I don't know what that unpleasant is, but it's safer for me to withdraw and be quiet. So I've learned that strategy. I've brought it into my adult life. Yeah. So we're learning how us. So parents also put rules. Enough being happy. If you laugh so much, something bad is going to happen. So every time as an adult, if I laugh a lot, I'll experience fear. Oh my God, something is going to happen. Yeah. Or if the focus is on, you got 97 marks. What happened to those 3 marks? Why didn't you study for? So these are adults. I have innumerable adults I have worked with. Whatever they achieve, they never feel happy with that achievement. They'll immediately, before that achievement is over, the next goal will be set. Yeah? Because only, and there's a general restlessness. There's no groundedness despite having everything. That's because being was never stroked. Only doing was stroked. Lot more negative strokes than positive strokes.
Hi, I have a question here.
Yes.
The question is, how do you recognize these set patterns we have created and how do we break them?
Yeah.
So first thing is recognition of that.
Yeah. So awareness like this, so TA is a model that helps us recognize some of these patterns. Let me go through the section on games, and the final piece will be how to get out of games.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah? I'm going to go faster. Yes, sorry, I'm interrupting. So I'm going to say that we all, based on our childhood experiences, develop life positions. These are core existential positions. The core position can be, I'm okay, you're okay, which means I'm a good person and the world around me seems to be full of good people. So I can look at the world, I look at the world through this lens. I'm okay, you are not okay, which is a one-up position. I'm not okay, you are okay is a one-down position, and I'm not okay, you're not okay is a hopeless position. Yeah? So we look at everything that happens to us through this lens. So a lens could be, so if my maid doesn't come in the morning, if my existential position is I'm okay, you're okay, how would I be? She had a problem, now how do we clean the house? Or shall I leave it and we'll worry about it later? Yeah? So that's what we call a get on with. Let's get on with life. It's a happy position. If I came from a I'm okay, you are not okay position, it's the angry child who was always angry with parents for letting the child down. How would I react to my maid not coming? She's always like that. I should have never given her that bonus. Yeah? I'm going to sack her tomorrow. You can never trust these people. Yeah? So I go to work with anger. If I'm coming from a I'm not okay, you're okay position. Did I upset her? Is she, or it could be, maybe I should not give her so much work, or it always happens to me. Everybody exploits me. Nobody is there for me. Yeah. So these are, I'm not okay, you're not okay, is of course a hopeless position, which is, she's also useless and I'm in my life like this, only things will happen. Yeah. So it's a very cynical. Yeah, so are you able to see how we are able to look at the world through these lenses? If I ask you to look at yesterday and look at how many moments you were in each quadrant, you will get a sense of your predominant life position.
This could also be situation based. For example, first it was not come, so I'm okay, you're okay.
Yeah. Very rarely, these are existential positions. If we say, with this maid, I won't trust her, it's very different thing. An existential position, you will recognize that you look at every event in your life through that lens. It means deepening away. So it can sound very revolutionary and almost illogical and false. But pay attention to yourself and you will begin to recognize your predominant. There is a favorite quadrant that you have. We all are in all 4 quadrants, but there's one quadrant in which we spend more time. Okay, so one more concept of rackets before we get to games. Rackets are, can you see this? What do you think rackets are? Mass. So I feel something inside and I show something outside. What do I show outside? the feeling that has been encouraged in my childhood. So if a boy cries, what is it encouraged? Yeah, so what, if somebody beat me and I'm crying, what will my parents say? Be a boy, go fight with him. And if if he had a good fight and he comes back with bruises, good, you did well, yeah. But if it's a girl, he beat me, what will they do? They'll carry the girl and they'll go out and say, who beat her? Huh? And they'll say, poor thing. So and nurse the child. So the child is encouraged for crying, being helpless, being protected. Yeah. So these are the gender stereotypes that often get encouraged. So what happens? Men lose touch with all other emotions except anger. Yeah. So when they're sad, so if someone's fired, they're angry. They're not in touch with their sadness or with their fear. And women often are only in touch with their sadness. So where they should be angry, so my boss has not given me a raise that I deserve, but instead of going and fighting with him, I feel sad and I cry. Yeah. So racket feeling is a familiar feeling that's encouraged in childhood. It's a racket. I may not recognize it. For me, I'm feeling sad at this time. I'm not even in touch with my anger. Yeah, I'm going to repeat. Yeah. So if we are aware, we don't reinforce these stereotypes. I think it's a lot of things are changing now, which is a fantastic thing. So if you encourage responsibility So a lot of these gender stereotypes are dissolving, but there may be some feelings that we still encourage. So for instance, as parents, we might say, don't play with these kids too much. Yeah, every friend that the child makes, what kind of a family is that? You play with him, but then you come back. We are different. Yeah, so this child learns to not get intimate with anyone. So that's what we call a don't belong belief. As an adult, in any group, we'll find a difficulty with integrating. I seem to be different. The way my parents turned up their nose at everything, that seems to be my pattern, that nobody is good enough for me. But I still yearn for that community and I still can't belong. So these are the dynamics. Okay, so now we've gone through this history of the leading up to games. So what is? So racket is a familiar feeling learnt and encouraged in childhood, experienced in many different stress situations, maladaptive to this. So crying won't help. This actually I should be fighting. Yeah. So if I'm scared, that something is, so I should say I'm scared, I need help. Rather, if I get angry with everyone saying you are not doing this, you're not doing this, people won't recognize what I need. So it's not a good way to problem solve. Yeah, absolutely. To be able to identify what is the emotion, what's my need, and what's the best way to get my need met. But often we are not encouraged to think like that. Yeah. So when I, in adulthood, set myself up to re-experience my racket feelings, I'm playing a game. Are you able to see that? So an example of that is, there was this person, I was consulting with an organization. He's from IIT Delhi, he was the topper of that batch. He would never wear a badge to the office. So first few days, the temporary badge was issued, and he would say, so whatever the organization would request, saying wear a badge and come, after a few days we won't let you in. Yeah, it was a warning, but he continued to disregard the warning. And this pattern, it's not that it's only the badge, right? It's a pattern of rebellion. So these are pervasive patterns. Very soon he was asked to leave. What do you think will be his pattern in other organizations? Yeah. So it's such a self-sabotaging behavior. What's the use of such brilliance? As a child, I have never been acknowledged for my being. So there's some anger that I'm carrying. I don't know what that anger is. That's the existential position. That I refuse to listen to anyone. It's actually, I see my parents and all of you. Yes, I refuse to obey you. And I will sabotage myself till a point, maybe I won't have any job, maybe I'll become a wastrel. So here's a IIT Delhi gold medalist becoming a wastrel. Yeah? So we're going to look at some common games. You'll recognize these games in the workplace. I'm going to invite Shripriya. So before I introduce the game to you, I'm going to introduce you to game roles. Yeah? So this is by Stephen Karpman. Stephen Karpman is also a psychiatrist who contributed to understanding games. So in a game, we don't recognize our needs. We don't recognize the needs of the other. We are repeating childhood patterns to reinforce the beliefs we have made about ourselves, about others, and the world at large. And we often take three positions. Yeah? Persecutor, so these are the Hindi movie roles. Persecutor, who's the villain, who gives grief to everyone. Rescuer, who's the hero, who will constantly be saving the heroine, who's getting kidnapped. And the heroine is the victim. She only can, that's what she can do, right? And the hero has to come and save her. Yeah, so we are going to have a game, and you have to recognize the hero, heroine, villain in that game. Yeah? Yeah, if you can give her a mic, please. I'm okay standing. I think it's be easier for the group. Huh?
You want to have some water?
I'm good. Thank you. All right. Yeah. So watch the dynamics. Hi, Shripriya.
Hi, Aruna. What happened? What happened, Aruna?
How do I tell you? I got fired today. I lost my job.
Oh my God. Can't believe this.
What will I do? I'm so confused.
Don't worry, we'll find you a job.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what to do.
Hey, why don't you, there's this building right next to ours. Why don't you apply there? I think they're looking for skills like yours.
That company. Oh, that company is. They already have so many pending CVs to look at. My friend told me they have like 20,000 CVs that they haven't looked at all. There's a 3-month waiting period.
Oh, okay. So then why don't you go to these recruitment consultants?
Oh, they're all cheats, Priya. They'll take money from me and they'll keep sending CVs to without even checking with me. Then I get crazy companies that call me.
Okay, then you have these Monster, Naukri, LinkedIn, so many of them. Use them.
Then everybody will know that I lost my job.
Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do this. You've always wanted to start something on your own. So I think this is the time and you have all the skills.
If I had the money, Priya, I would have started it long back. No, would I? I wouldn't be crying like this.
Oh, I understand. Okay, if money is the problem, I think I can help. I can help here with the money. I have so many friends that I know that can help with all this. So we'll help you start up.
So you will collect money from your friends? See, I've lost my job, but I haven't become a beggar, Shripriya. I mean, what do you think? I shouldn't even have told you. I thought you'd understand me.
I think now I'm kicking myself for having even tried to help you. I'm sure there's something that you did in your company that made them fire you.
I should have never told you. Thank you. Looked familiar? It's a very adult exchange, yeah? Let's look at the drama triangle rules. This is a game. This is a very popular game, one of the most popular games. It's called Why Don't You? Yes, But. Yeah? So who is responsible for the conversation going bad? Oh, this is cultural, huh? So cultural in India that I am blamed. Yeah? Okay, why am I responsible for the conversation going bad? I'm victimizing myself. So I was in the game as a victim. Yeah? So I refuse to take options for myself and I refuse to solve my problem. So I am responsible for the conversation going bad. So I'm telling you, a game can never be played by one person. Do you agree that Shripriya also had a role to play? What was her?
But if it is not rejecting, the more should have change to just sympathizing and not giving solutions.
Yeah.
There should have been a switch.
Yeah, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Did I ask for help? Yeah. I had just been fired. I was crying. Yeah. What did she do? She took over my problem. Yeah. She took over my problem, and she in fact was more eager to solve it than I was. Yeah. And why was she angry with me? For rejecting the options that I never asked for. Yeah, so what drama triangle position did she take? Rescuer. So who's a rescuer really? How is a rescuer different from a genuine helper? Yeah, a rescuer often helps for a unstated need. A rescuer often helps from a one-up position. So if I look at the existential positions, victim is a I'm not okay, you're okay. A rescuer is a I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm capable of finding a job on my own, but Sri Priya didn't think that way. She thought she was necessary. So what could be her stroke pattern? So she has been given strokes as a little child for being responsible and helpful. That's the only way she knows how to get strokes. So she cannot not be helpful. So it's quite an older child phenomenon. An older child has always been asked to give up, sacrifice, be responsible, be helpful. So they're compulsive helpers. Yeah? They don't know how to enjoy themselves or relax or let go. So she came and helped me. And at the end I rejected her help and she got angry. And her life belief could also be, script belief could also be, people are ungrateful. Quite likely, she is facing that in a lot of situations in her office, where she helpfully goes and gives suggestions, and people reject the suggestions, and she says, people can't see any good idea. Yeah? A constant anger that my ideas are not valued. Are you able to see how the game pans out? Both of us, yes. Yes, yes.
He's asking if you have a stroke, give. So that's what exactly she was trying to do in
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
place, right? But
yeah.
again, in this situation, what we are talking is, though you haven't asked, she's been giving you the strokes as a reason, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
how do you
yeah.
exactly find out what, you know?
So yeah, so that's what I'm going to. Both parts, so she may not have recognized, we all enter games without awareness. Yeah? Both parties could have stopped the game. How could I have stopped the game? Yeah? So I could have told her, listen Shri Priya, I've just got this news. I'm not able to even think about options. Yeah? So I'll come to you and I'll reach out to you for help, but right now I'm very confused. So don't push me into action. Yeah, I could have taken care. So what I'm doing is I'm going on inviting her to give me suggestions, and I'm building up my anger. And then games have a switch. So I switched from a victim to a persecutor, where I accused her for treating me as a beggar. And then I turned into victim again and I said, nobody understands me. And she didn't recognize my resistance. Yeah, if she had recognized my resistance, what could her options have been? Yeah. Yeah, so listening, asking, yeah, how can I help you? Yeah, so that would be, or when she gave a few suggestions I rejected and say, I think it is very overwhelming for you right now. When you feel like talking about it, I am ready to talk through options with you. That's respecting that the other person is capable of handling, choosing a right timing. Are you able to see that? That's the game and how we can break it. Yes. Just being there listening, because that would be a real need at that point in time, because I'm upset, huh?
Actually, I have
Empathizing,
I
absolutely.
read one like, I don't know how far it's true for women. Women wants to be listen more than solutions. So how far it is true? Because always when complaining, they don't want the solutions, they just want to be listened.
And in times when emotions are strong, it's not that women don't want solutions at all, So there are even men. It's a gender stereotype. There are times when people want to be listened to, and others may come in with a solution when that's not needed at all. So what we are saying is it's okay to give solutions, but if you feel that the other person saying yes, but that's the game. There's no readiness at that time to take that solution. It's important to back off. So it escalates into a game when both parties keep persisting. Both take the payoff, which is my script belief about life. So my belief is nobody understands me. Her belief is people are ungrateful. So we work ourselves up to that.
Before jumping to solutions, we have to first observe them whether they want the solutions. Or
Yeah. So if I respond to, if I'm alert and aware of what the person needs and I'm responding to that, then I'm helping. But if I'm helping to meet my own need of feeling useful, that's rescuing. Yeah. So I remember working with in a coaching conversation with a leader who was saying the issue she brought up was, how much should I push my child? I don't know how much to push my child. She's joining classes and then she loses interest and then she doesn't attend. So my question was, what is your need? Yeah, she didn't see that at all. It said, it's for my child, it's for my child. She has to grow, she needs to develop. But actually, she has a strong need in the process. Are you able to see? Many times we don't recognize that need at all. If I didn't have a need, if I was very concerned about my child, only concerned about my child, I wouldn't go through the kind of agitation. So I have a stake, and it's okay to admit that. I have a stake in my child being successful. I feel very strongly about it. That would give her permission to be firm and it will allow her to push. So it's important to recognize my own need in the process.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, right now you were talking to your friend. So you could at least ask her, okay, fine, I am not in the position to hear, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But let's say there is my mom or my dad standing in front of me.
Yeah.
And the situation is like, I can't tell them, I don't want to listen to you. So how do you handle such things?
Who introduced that rule?
But generally, I mean, maybe in my case, and generally it is the case with everyone, I think, in India
Okay,
especially.
I have one person who's saying, no, 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 no.
Okay, I have observed that. So if I am doing something wrong or I'm losing my job, maybe the same example.
Yeah,
So I would be blamed, let's say. So you must have done this thing and that's why this
Yeah,
is
you didn't
happening
get
and all.
empathy, yeah.
So how to handle such situation?
So,
Because I can't
so I'm
change
going to say it is okay to tell your parents, give me some time. You have to give, you didn't get that permission, but it is okay to give yourself that permission. The question of how do we deal with it, we give ourselves the permissions that we were denied as little children. And tolerate, so part of getting out of games is to tolerate people's unhappiness. Even if it's a parent, even if it's a spouse, even if it's a child. Yeah?
Speak out whatever you feel. At
Yeah,
that
so that's what he calls autonomy. That our goal is autonomy. So question this belief. Why am I not able to ask for space for myself? You might get it. Try it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a long journey and it needs a lot of self-awareness and intentionality. We're not saying that these are, we're not talking about easy choices here. Yeah. It is, yeah. So it is a journey. Having a game-free life is almost having a spiritual life. It's a journey. Yeah. So don't give up all games. I'd say feel okay about snapping and feel also okay about apologizing after that and making up and yeah. So give yourself permission to be spontaneous. Okay, let's see one more game. So Sri Priya is my boss and I'm going to invite a neighbor. You have no dialogues. Yeah. So you are in the next cube in office and you just listen to me. And you have a different boss. Your boss is not Sri Priya. Okay. Kanika? Yeah. Hey Kanika, the cab leaves at 6. So I'm leaving. I want to catch the cab. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Hey, Aruna, I have something really urgent for you. Please.
Shripriya, now?
Yes, please. This needs to be done. This is really urgent, and I know it's not going to take long for you.
Okay. Okay, what is it?
Yeah. Can you just finish this?
Okay, thank you. I'll do that, yeah. All right. I missed my cab. Yeah, this is day 1, yeah. So day 2, I come to office. Kanika, she said it won't take too much time. Yeah, I was here till 8:30, and then I didn't get a cab. I had to wait for 30 minutes. I reached home only at 10:30 last night. Today I really want to go at 6, huh? Okay, I'll see you. Bye.
Hey, no, there you are.
Shripriya, I sent you the report at 10:30
Right,
last
but
night.
then there is some formatting that needs to be done. It's not much. It's just some formatting.
You didn't tell me anything in the morning, so I thought it was all okay.
No, but then this is not going to take you long. Trust me. And I know you can do it quickly.
Okay. Why doesn't she tell me in the morning, yeah? Day 15, yeah? Oh God, it's become such a nightmare, yeah, working with this boss. She's so chaotic. I think at 6 o'clock she'll just come alive as if everything in the world has to be done, and I'm missing my cabs constantly like this.
Aruna, are
She'll
you there?
come. What is it, Shripriya?
No, there's this client meeting that we have tomorrow, and we need to finish this report. I really need some urgent help from you.
You know, Shripriya, I was free all morning.
I know, but then I didn't have time. I was in meeting all day. Can you just complete this for me quickly, please?
Okay. So day 26. I'm fed up, Kanika. I don't know how your boss is, but my boss is horrible. You know what? I'm going to go off at 4 o'clock today because 6 o'clock she comes searching for me. Yeah, I don't care if I don't go in the company cab. So, bye. I'll see you. Bye. Yeah.
Aruna?
Hi, Shripriya.
Hi. Are you in the office?
No, I had no work, so I decided to go home early today.
Oh, okay. I'm hoping that you're not too far from the office. There's this orientation that we have for new joinees tomorrow, right? That I was talking to you yesterday. There's some changes that we need to make to the orientation presentations.
But I'm already on the road, Shripriya. I have already left office.
Yeah, I know, but since you made all the PPTs, can you just quickly take a U-turn and come back?
Shripriya, can somebody else do it, please?
No, see, I looked for people around, but I think Aruna, since you prepared, and I'm sure you can do it quickly because you know what's gone into it. Can you please come back?
I hate her. Okay, so I don't know which day I was in, day 45. Okay, I've had enough, huh? I really had enough. It's 6 o'clock. She's going to come now.
Hey Aruna, I was trying to reach you on your desk phone and mobile phone all through the day. You didn't pick up.
I know, because you'd come now, no? 6 o'clock.
But I was in meetings. How could I pick my calls? I was in the client meetings
Don't
all
worry,
day.
Shripriya. Give me the urgent task that needs to be done.
Yeah, just get this done.
And only I can do it, no?
Yeah, please.
Yeah?
Yes.
I am your best employee, and you didn't know about this earlier, I'm sure. Yeah? You know, Shripriya, why don't I give you a head massage and polish your shoes? Because you treat me like your servant. That's how you treat me. And if you think I have no choices, you are all wrong.
Aruna.
I will get another job.
Aruna.
You can't treat me like this. You take your job. I'm sorry. Okay. So, how did I enter the game? As a victim, yeah? And how did she enter the game? As a persecutor. She was all smiling and nice, but she was a persecutor. Why do I say that? Smilingly ignoring my challenges, yeah? Actually not having my intent in, not recognizing my body language clues. See, I also never said, no, I won't do it. I never confronted her. I was all giving her hints through my body language, which she happily ignored. Yeah, and then she said, so there are two games. So what will I go home and tell my family? Why did I leave my job? Because of the boss. Yeah, how could anyone work with this boss? But do you see, it was not only because of the boss. There were so many things I could have done, which I, yeah. So it's very evident to you but they were never evident to me that I could have gone in the morning and said this is not working for me, given her feedback, said no, escalated the issue, yeah, or asked for a bonus. How we deal with it is very personal. As long as I'm not building up this resentment, waiting for that explosion to happen. What's the chance that this is going to happen to me again in another job? Very high. Yeah? Yes.
Report your status in the morning and expecting her
I
to
didn't do that. I thought if she is not getting back to me, it's okay. Yeah, so essentially to say that I could have I could have been more important. Not let her trample all over me like this and then explode. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 So I can still choose to leave the job, but then I have done my bit. So we have no guarantee about how the other person would respond. Yeah, I can look at people outside her. I can go to her boss. I can go to HR. There are options. Did I look at resolving my issue? So that is the question. Yeah. So I allowed this game to escalate. So now this boss is playing a game called Kick Me. Yeah. Quite likely, this boss is very smilingly persecuting people and waiting for people to, under pressure, explode like that. And I am playing a game which Byrne has called Now I Got You SOB, which is I'm waiting for a day to explode. I was waiting for that 6 o'clock when she would come and she would ask me, and I would just give it to her as she deserved it. Yeah. Now I got her. Yeah? Son of a bitch. It's called Niggy Sob. This game is called Niggy Sob. Yeah. Somebody has a question here? Okay. So this was 2 games in the workplace. Shall we look at a third game from the family? Yeah. Is it I'm okay, you're okay? My position was I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm going to punish you for all the wrong that you did to me. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So it's really a blinkered view of the world. It's not an objective view. So my payoff could be managers are all untrustworthy. Yeah. So you can't be loyal to anyone because they are there to exploit. Yeah. So those are all beliefs, and I make these beliefs come true. Yeah, if I had, we are all in the game together. Yeah, so I allow the person to persecute. If I stood up, maybe the person doesn't have so much power.
So,
Yeah?
excuse me.
Yes.
From your manager's perspective, it was I am okay, you are okay sort of situation.
No, manager was also I'm okay, you're not okay. Persecutor, managers, so you don't have to look like Amrish Puri. You can persecute with a very smiling. She was very inconsiderate. If we design organizational systems that stress people, it is persecution. Yeah, even though we may be being very cordial and nice, when we discount another person's needs, it is persecution. Yeah? Yes. Yeah.
So in that case, how would you have, made him realize that, you're...
Feedback, assertiveness, expression of needs. So I never went and told her this every day 6 o'clock is not working for me. I can do it once in a week. I can't do it every day. And if it happens, if it doesn't change, I may think of leaving because it is this important to me. So to express yourself with this clarity, without hesitation, at a time when the boss is ready to listen to it, is taking care of yourself.
Just a query. Sometimes what we feel is immediately, maybe for ladies it is more this thing, that we feel we have been, like we are more efficient doing the work from 8 to 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
But it is always perceived in the organization that इन्हें जल्दी भागना होता है. Okay, so that is what is the, and we are less in number, and they always say like
Yeah,
that.
these are stereotypes.
These
that
are
work against-
stereotypes
yeah,
that
yeah.
comes. So what ladies do is, whenever such things come, immediately they don't explode,
Yeah.
thinking that if I do like that, they will make a notion about me.
Yeah, yeah.
That this girl always says that, okay, at 6 o'clock I have to run.
Yeah.
6 o'clock I have. So they keep taking it up,
Yeah.
taking it up. So it is a very common scenario that happens.
It is,
So
it is. So it is cultural. It is
Exactly.
cultural.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like that. It is okay to have a good fight with your manager and to say, how do you see value? Is value for you hours or what I come up with? And is there, do I have to tolerate inefficiencies of the system? And I'm happy to work with you to fix it.
But it also depends how your manager takes it, right? The manager
course.
may also
Of
feel,
course.
the manager may also feel that, okay, this is something which is coming back to me, so let me give back to her.
So
It
you
may
have to
happen.
be ready to face the consequences.
Correct.
But often we are making a lot of assumptions about how it will be.
And because of the consequences, we keep quiet for so long, which happen with you, which happen in that
In this
scenario.
role play. So
Yes.
is there a question or you're saying it is okay to
No,
be
so
like
how to
that?
overcome this situation? Like, how long you should wait, or what should you do, or you
It's
should?
a personal decision.
Okay.
I would say why wait at all? Are you important? Are your needs important? Then why would you hesitate? Yeah?
I have been in that situation, I would say very beginning of the career, but then after a point I had to give the feedback that see for me this is not okay now. Can the meeting happen without me and let them sync up? You know that the feedback has to go. Quite often what happens in meeting, especially in a multi-geography setup, sometimes many times it is that not convenient for you, you need to express, okay, I will take this and then is it also okay, not only with the boss, right? So I think it's the need to give.
Also, one step above that would be to say, why don't we change the system? Are we feeling important enough to push the system, that this system is not sustainable? Yeah, I see this kind of acknowledgement on a mass scale where people really stress that organizations can be pushed to become more sensitive. So this whole need to inclusion is actually making organizations question. When we are interviewing, are we interviewing for talent or are we looking at very superficial factors like gender, age, where people live, or are we looking at, can we really assess leadership potential? How are we measuring performance? By the hours that people put at work or by the value they are able to bring? And we need to speak up to, and that's important. And if people are unhappy with us, which is likely to happen, because the leader is not going to be very happy if I am assertive. Yeah, so I will face resistance. When I am assertive, I have to be ready for that as well. And we can talk about it. We can talk about it. And it can happen that when I pull out of the game, the relationship breaks. It can happen within families also. I was a dominating husband and a submissive wife, and it continues as long as this equation is there. The wife grows, husband can't handle it. It can happen that the relationship breaks. It will sustain only if the husband also decides that it's healthier to stay out of the game, and it's better off if both of them are equals rather than have a power differential. So, but when I decide to break out of the game, I am also ready for the consequences. There's a payoff and there's a price. Yeah? Yeah.
All that need not be like something we want to really break or something, right? Because if you keep the emotions out and you talk, probably it will work. 80%, 90% it works.
Good
And
for you.
Yeah.
That's
and
what I can
second
say,
is
huh.
second point is probably there is another point here that you would have talked to her and checked if you want to come in second shift, because mornings anyway you are free. Something.
True. What I highlighted was there were options that I didn't even acknowledge existed. Yeah, and I made her the monster. Absolutely, absolutely. But I'm saying it's a very naive belief that everyone will respond to my assertion positively. They may not. But I choose to assert because that's right.
I just want to add a point. It was easy for all of us to see the situation and laugh, but we don't realize what game we are currently.
True. Let's see one more game and I'll show you a list of games. If you're interested, you can even surf on the book. All the games will be listed. But as Byrne says, these are not the only games in the world. Yeah? Okay, so this is a husband and wife game. What shall I call you? Shri Kumar. So Shri, you are never... I'm tired of doing this, making sambar for you, making rasam for the children, and making upma for my in-laws, and all my life has gone in cooking for you. Because you want hot meals on the table every time. I could have been such a superb career woman.
What happened to you, Aruna? Why are you talking like this today? Just relax
Because
and
I
enjoy.
see all these women so confident and going, and I look at me, I've become one housemaid, constantly cooking all the time. What? If I had not married you, maybe my life would have been very different.
But didn't we have this conversation before? I was always supportive. It was your choice to stay at home, make the food for children, make
Because
all
you're
these
always
varieties.
asking for hot food. You don't eat cold food.
But I never said that I need all of this. You always had the choice, and I was supportive of this.
So
Relax.
are you saying that if I go now look for a job, you'll say okay?
You were the one that you was always comparing with the neighbor Rekha. Do it.
Okay, I'm going to go do a job, and I'm going to become a CEO, and then you're going to eat all your words.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing for you. Go.
Okay. Okay, so she goes, but now she is terrified. Yeah, she's terrified, and she goes through some days of sleeplessness and all of that, and now planning her next conversation with her husband. So this is after a few days. Yeah.
How is it going, Aruna?
I know it. You want to laugh at me, right? You want to laugh at me because 15 years I haven't worked and I have no skills now for anybody to give me a job. If I should have applied at that time only. I should never have listened to you. And because of you, my life is gone.
You stopped yourself. You stopped, but let's talk about how is it going now?
I don't know what to do. I feel I have lost skills. Nobody will give me a job.
So
no, I because of you now I have to be stuck like this in this role only.
So what do you want to do
this
now?
is my life. Yeah?
What do you want to do now?
Maybe I should pay attention to my hobbies. Maybe I'm going to start learning something. Maybe I'm going to join a Bharatanatyam class. I'm going to do that.
Are you sure? At this age with your back problem?
See, you'll laugh. You'll say nasty things like that.
I'm only helping you.
Yeah. Why do you have to talk about my back problem?
I care for you.
If it weren't for you, I may have been a great dancer. Okay, so this is a game called If It Weren't For You. Yeah? So I am scared. So how Burns is a life game. I chose a husband like that. We get attracted to people who will reinforce our script beliefs. Yeah? So I chose a dominant husband because that husband will protect me from facing my own fears of being inadequate. So now I have a convenient scapegoat. Throughout my life, because of you, I never amounted to anything. Yeah, so this is a game called If It Weren't For You. So now what happened to the projector? Yeah. Yeah, so we saw 3 games. Why don't you yes but kick me, now I got you, if it weren't for you. So what we're going to do now is become more familiar with these game roles. Let me check the time. Oh, it's 10:45. So we don't have time for... So what I would have done is I would have gotten you into triads and asked you to take in the rescuer, persecutor, victim role so you become more familiar with it. So now I think we have 15 more minutes. I'm happy to answer questions and we'll talk about how to get out of games. So games are repetitive. So you know it's a game. If you end up having that racket feeling or that thought again and again in your life, yeah, they're played without awareness. You don't decide to play the game. They always end up in both parties feeling bad. Yeah? And there is a switch. There's some things that are said and some things that are not said. So what is not said here is, I am very scared. I want you to dominate me. Because this is a more convenient position for me than the terror that I experienced in the 15 days when I had to look for a job. There's a lot of things that are not said, yeah, and there are always moments of surprise or confusion. There are switches. I've just pulled out some names. Ain't it awful? Can you recognize the game immediately? Ain't it awful that Bangalore traffic is so bad? Ain't it awful that men don't let women become CEOs? Yeah, so it is. Now, why is it a game? So if I tell her, ain't it awful? Then she'll say, that's nothing. Ain't it awful? And she'll come up with a bigger one. So both parties are, how come she has a bigger grouse than mine? I go and look for something that's not going right in my life so I can come back and play the game with you. Yeah? Wooden leg. Wooden leg is holding on to one factor. And holding that factor responsible for, I remember a woman being in a very unhappy marriage, a qualified woman, very wealthy, but being in an unhappy marriage because I don't even know how to open a bank account. Who asked her not to learn? Yeah. So there's something. So that becomes the wooden leg. That's the reason I give the world for not moving out of my predicament. I'm only trying to help you. Is when we do things for people without understanding what their need is, giving stupid solutions, getting involved in everybody else's problems, yeah, and then when they reject, to say, I was only trying to help you, yeah. Why don't you? Yes, but it has a, yeah. So there will be shades. These are rescuer games. I am only trying to help you. Why don't you? Yes, but a rescue. You can enter the game from any of the drama triangle positions. See, what you made me do is not taking accountability for any action. So if she asks me to do something, I can't say no, but half agreeing, I'll do it, and when it fails, see what you made me do. So that's the game. Okay, we don't have to go through all the games. The book is available. Yeah, sweetheart is when very lovingly we hurt people. Yeah. So husband never spends time at home. Wife is very unhappy. Yeah. But she doesn't raise it with him. She carries the resentment because she also wants the diamond necklace and the farmhouse and all of that. So we are not aware of our motives. But she needs him and his time, and it's a growing resentment. And they go to a party together and he forgets what classes the children are in. And she looks at him and says, you would know that, sweetheart, if you spent more time at home. Yeah? So in a public space, when it can hurt him, she gives it to him with a big smile and saying, sweetheart. So he gets it. We'll get those. They'll be acid-laced comments, yeah? So he'll look at, I would spend more time at home, sweetheart, if you didn't give me so much burnt food. So they're having this cold exchanges, very visible, but they're calling each other sweetheart every time. So it's the most popular game, according to the book. Sarcasm. Sarcasm is this, yeah. So we'd like to go through the list. It's entertaining. So corner is, I build it up to a moment. So many of us, we have not, as children, enjoyed intimacy. Intimacy is a space where you can be fully yourself and have no worries or fears at all. So a child can say, I remember a statement that my daughter made to me. I am very proud of it. I don't know if she remembers it. Where she said, Amma, I don't want to be like you. I want to sleep all day. Yeah, I want to be ordinary. Yeah. So for me, I feel very proud that she can say this. So a child who doesn't experience this freedom, not experience intimacy, there's a certain fear. So whenever there's an actually intimate moment, we'll do things to sabotage it. Yeah. So corner is wanting that intimacy, building up to it, but when the moment of intimacy comes, saying or doing something so we push to a cause. So it's like a wife telling her husband, let's go for a movie. No, we haven't gone for a movie at all. And they book the tickets, they're ready to go. But when they get into the car, it's just the two of them, and suddenly that becomes very uncomfortable. So she'll say, why didn't you paint the wall? How many times I've told you to go? Now I can't enjoy the movie because the wall is not painted. Yeah, so now that's pushing the person into a corner. This is not the time to talk about the wall being painted. That's corner. Yeah, so that was the moment of it. That's fear became a reason. Yeah, harried. Harried is both men and women play this game, which is filling up life with things to do. Yeah, always being rushed. Morning I have to get up, do puja, take the children to hospital, school, take my whatever, cook the food, handle some calls and emails, go to work, guests are coming in the evening. It has to be an impeccable dinner. I have to look really pretty, so from office I have to go to the parlor, and when the guests come, I have no energy to make conversation. I fall off asleep or I might even faint. Yeah. So it is, the intimacy is scary again. Yeah, and men also do this. So I don't know if you've seen Mukaddar Ka Sikandar. It's all our Hindi movies are big life games, huh? Where he loves the girl, but he'll sacrifice for his friend, and he'll go fight with villains. When the wedding is happening, he'll come with a bullet wound, cover himself with a shawl. But it's not true sacrifice, because he will die at the altar on their feet, and at that moment he will reveal that all his life he has loved her. So both of them can have a very unhappy rest of their lives. Yeah, so he's got his payoff. Yeah.
Aruna, yeah, I have a question. So, you spoke about like how we are conditioned like before 12 and stuff, and we spoke about corner, and I think that's very prevalent in especially our Asian societies and among women. Like I've seen it a lot happen, and like this thing like we are not okay, I'm just going to go the PDA and stuff like that. Like, we don't do that. How do you counter corner from the perspective of another person? Because it's almost a lot of times, a lot of people in our lives like physically almost reject us trying to be, intimate with them. And they're hurting themselves and us, like you said, like him dying at the altar. How do you counter that?
So it is, so game invitations can be painful. It needs a lot of awareness and a lot of compassion actually to see that it is. So if there was a husband and wife and they were going to have intimate time and some nasty topic is brought up, so the other person has to say, see, we are here to have a good time. We'll talk about it. I really want to have a good time with you. Forget this wall painting business. But you can only do so much. If the other person is that scared of intimacy and continues, but that's what is in your control. But not to get hooked. A hook is being given to get angry. So to refuse to take the hook. Yeah, so that's what we call authenticity. Now how do we break out of a game? Do you have clues? How do we lead a game? Firstly, to recognize the game. Yeah. So I remember again working with the leader. She said, I feel I'm getting really manipulated by my boss. So I said, recognize the moves of the game. So she said, oh, I'm getting it. The first thing, I think the game that he plays with me is send her on a wild goose chase. Yeah, so whenever she goes to him, he complicates the task. So first is name the game. Yeah, what's happening? What are the invitations? What feelings does it trigger in you, and how does it spoil what you want? Yeah, your success or the relationship. Understand that. What else would you do? Yeah, so recognize that you have choice. Yeah, we have options. The key thing is recognize your need. What is your need here? And express that need and ask for the need to be met. So asking for the stroke. Yeah, so here, why don't you yes, but asking for the need would be, I'm really not ready to think of actions. Or to say, I see that you are not objectively looking at the options. I think I've come too soon with options. So it is being able to say, I want to help you. When you want help, I'm happy to help you. Yeah, so you have a need to help. So don't disguise it as you need help. But I feel happy helping you. Recognize your need, recognize it. Yeah. I really enjoy, so I tell my children, I really enjoy studying with you. I'm not studying with you because you need to be helped. I get great joy sitting and doing so, to recognize my need in the process. Yeah. So
Aruna, but sorry to interrupt, but what if even after asking or even after telling the person what your need is, what if the need is actually not met? Like if
there's a high chance, there is a chance. I wouldn't say high chance. But what is in our control is doing what it takes to make the need clear. After that, we also have to look at what the other person is ready and able to give. And everyone has their own compulsions of various kinds. If my need is not getting met here, I can look elsewhere to meet that need. I remember, See, sometimes we put a lot of pressure on specific people to meet needs in specific ways. So part of the growth process is also being a little more fluid and flexible. I remember one of our friends coming and complaining to us saying, we never go for Hindi movies. I cannot see a Hindi movie in my life because my wife hates Hindi movies. So who's asking him not to see it? He can go on his own, but she has to be happy if she sees the Hindi. Because of her, I'm not able to go. So it's okay if the person, at least I know that the need cannot be met, and then I have options that I can try out. So to not have rigid rules about how people should be, how relationships should be. Yes, Archana. Yes.
I think it really struck a chord. So what is actually important that you be spiritual, you understand that this is a game, enter it with awareness, or can you actually get out of a game? Is it really possible? Not playing any games at all.
So is it possible? No. So keep the games. If the husband and wife don't fight, what joy is there? If somebody doesn't dump you in your life, there's no poetry. No Hindi movies would be made no movies would be made if there was no drama in life. Yeah. So it's okay. We can go through our emotions, and they have a part, and it's part of our journey as human beings to go through our emotions. But ask, which of these is really hurting me? What is taking away my joy? What's preventing me? So some of us may have questions. I seem to be hurting the people I love the most. Yeah, so to say, is that game worth it? Can I move out of it? Yeah, I don't have to move out of every game. It's okay. Am I getting unhappy with, so there are some people who are not happy in any organization. They just set themselves up to be unhappy. There's no ideal organization. Their whole life is a search for that perfect organization. So that's a game. Is it helping me? Yeah, so can I be more practical, more realistic? Yes.
Get out of the situation. We have to think like
So you stop waiting for other people to value you. Yeah, so it is important for you to express how significant and how great you are. See, if the other person is not capable of, then why are you holding on to that person so much?
Just ignore it and move.
Find people. If you look for people who value you, you will find them.
But in personal life also, like what I'm trying to say.
See, sometimes it can happen that the approval...
persons at home or something, they always find something fault in you.
True.
Though you do 90% perfect and 10% they'll catch hold of it and try to pinpoint you.
True.
So how to get out of those situations?
Compassion. It can happen
But
that
we
the
can't
parent
change
is
them.
always.
We can't change them actually.
And in fact, the time we get awareness, our parents may be really old. And it's not the time to change them. But to say that they had their struggles, it was the rules that they had learnt that they have forwarded. So I don't have to be a victim of their expectations. Yeah. So sometimes they may be unhappy. So if you choose a career that they don't like, or you choose a partner that they don't like, they may never ever approve of that. It's okay. Sometimes we have to live with that sadness and to say that I chose and I feel that I have been authentic and true to myself. And I take responsibility for, if I made choices to make them happy, that's rescuing. It's a game. So I don't make choices to make other people happy. I take responsibility and I trust that other people are responsible for their own happiness. Personality type is a small lens. Both coexist. That's also there. It's one lens to look at people. It's not the complete lens. And childhood and upbringing is another influence. Make very different choices. It's the choice of the child. It's not the child decides. It's not the parent who imposes. So two children in the same house can make very different decisions. I think it is 11. Thank you so much. You are a very attentive audience. So I wish you all a lot of autonomy, spontaneity, intimacy in your lives. May the painful games stop and the happy games continue. Thank you. You're looking for the mic.
Yeah, thank you, Aruna, for a great session. I feel I'm okay. Are you okay? Are we okay? I wish we could have, whole day session, but you do, right? Oh, okay. We have a small token of love. Please accept.